Hi, my name is Jazzy. I'm from Myers Sewing. Today we're going to talk about the Accomplish, the Baby Lock Accomplish. This is our semi-industrial machine. I love this machine. It's heavy duty, she's fast, she weighs a ton. She's a great machine and I own her and she's a workhorse. I love it. It's used for many things. You can sew through heavy fabrics, you can piece with this and do quilting, you can sew clothing with this. I've done free motion quilting with this. There's a lot of things you can do with the Accomplish, and if you just purchased her, you'll be very pleased. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is the machine itself. Before we talk about threading and everything else, let's talk about all the parts that you got, because you got quite a few. All right, first thing is it comes with this particular table here. I'll put it on and show you how to use it, but we're going to take it off for the rest of the class. When you put this on, it will slide on and over at the same time. There are little feet to help it to stand up. So it's a nice steady table. This is good to be used when you are doing free motion. You have a little door access to get to your bobbin mechanism when you're changing your bobbin. We'll take it off for now just to get it out of the way, a little less mess. Okay. All right. When you get your machine, she'll have a foot on it and you'll have a needle on it. It'll look different than a standard machine. This is where your tension is. This is more of old-fashioned tension that we used to deal with 50 years ago. Also similar to what the Regalia looks like, which is our long arm machine. In your machine, you'll also, in your box, sorry, where you'll get all these little doodads. I'm just dumping them out. Okay. When you change your feet on your machine, this is not a standard machine. It changes with the whole ankle on top. So I'm going to line them up so you can see them. And they come with a variety of feet. Now, the one thing about the Accomplish that is unlike other machines is that it is a straight stitch machine only. This does not do any kind of zigzag. It's straight stitch only, and you need to remember that. All right, there's that, and then our free motion foot. So let's go down the line. All right, here is your 1/4 inch foot. You get the whole ankle. You do not just, the foot does not come off. It does have movement, but it doesn't come off. You change the whole foot, okay? You have, I use this as a 1/4 inch foot, and I'm going to be changing it to that today. So I'll do that one. You have a rolled hem foot. This is a zipper foot, and it's adjustable, so you can adjust it, which is nice. This is the kind of zipper foot I learned when I started sewing a long time ago. You get a variety of bobbins. This is for your spool pin if you end up using a cone, a large cone, like say the Maxi Lock serger thread. This would be perfect so the spool doesn't pop off. We don't need that today. Here is a spool cap if you need to use one. This is a spool cap for your spool of thread. Extra needles. This is a seam guide. Your walking foot is a heavy duty, really nice. Goes on the same way other feet go on. It's take the whole ankle off and put it all on. We'll talk about that. We've talked bobbins. This is another zipper foot. This is for your invisible zippers, okay? You can still put those in. Needles, screwdriver, very important. And then you have your free motion foot, which we will use today also. All right, your machine came with a foot pedal, which you'll need. Electrical cord, your telescopic thread for threading your machine and getting your bobbin ready. All right, let's talk about here. This is for bobbin making only, and we'll go over that. This is for the pressure, the amount of pressure that you need for the presser foot. We'll go about that. I'll explain all the colors here and here. All this is connected. All right, and this makes it the semi-industrial. Threading is very different than a standard machine. We'll go through here and I will do that step by step. Your uptake is still there. There's a special way to do this, so you need to pay attention. This machine does have an automatic threader, but it is different. Your needle does not go in like a standard machine. That is also different. Your bobbin comes in on the side. Comes in on the side. It is not a front loader or a top loader, it's a side. Goes in just like a front loader though, and I'll show you that also after we make a bobbin. This little clip here is to hold up the table I just showed you. Your back stitch button is here. And here, here's your dial. This is for the millimeters in length that you have. You can go from 1 to 7 millimeters in length on your straight stitch, which is really fabulous if you need to be doing large basting. Or even leather work, you can use a larger millimeter length. Your automatic cut button and needle up and down. All right, and of course your hand wheel. All right, so this button here, sorry, I forgot one little knob. This button here, you'll change, and this talks about your feed dogs, and we'll get to that also. All right, so let's go on and start working on the machine. So let's learn a little bit about turning the machine on, how to plug it in, and go from there. All right, so you have your electrical cord, and round it on the top, push it all the way in. You have your foot pedal button below. All right, on switch, and there we go. Very quiet. Let's turn her around so everybody can see. All right. All right. First thing we're gonna do is make a bobbin. So when you're threading this particular machine, here's our bobbin. These are not class 15. These are specific bobbins that you use for your accomplish, okay? Please do not try to use a size L or a class 15. They will not fit and your machine will not run correctly. So now we're gonna thread the machine. Thread goes back here. And we are going to, first thing, we're gonna loop it through here on your telescopic piece. You can see it here, but it needs to go all the way up. So that will go there. I'm gonna leave the thread there and explain and point out to what we're doing, and then I'll move on and thread the machine. All right, so when you're threading this, you wanna go under this hole here, so the thread comes out the top, go back through under, up through the top, and under again, and then up through the top. Come down here, you wanna wrap it around and into this where your tension discs are. You'll get this, catch that loop, go down and under. You'll go in here so the thread will stay nice and straight and won't catch on anything. Up here to the uptake, over from right side to left side, come back down, catch it again. Into this little loop here. You'll go down. It'll go into the little wire piece loop right next to the needle, and then we'll come down and we'll show you the needle threader. So now, I've already looped it up to the telescopic, and now let's start threading. From the bottom to the top, go back to the bottom to the top. Make sure you're not catching your loops and you're not getting the thread caught. Bottom to the top. All right, and then you want to go through your tension, bring it forward, catch, bring it down around this lever here, and I'm going to show you what it does. Hang on a second, sorry about that. All right, so if you focus on here, you'll see when I pull, it moves down. So when this take-up lever goes up and down, this will also go up and down to create better tension. Let's go into that little guide from right to left in the uptake. Back down through that little lever, hook here, and then we're gonna hook it there. All right. Now, I'm gonna have to get in front of the machine to thread it because I need to see it. All right. Your needle is in a different position. With standard machines, your back of your needle, the flat side, is back here. This particular machine is very different. It's on, the flat side is to the right, and the rounded edge is to the left. So that makes it so the hole goes this way, okay? It does not go this way, all right? So your threader is definitely a little different. All right. I'm gonna come down. What I do is I usually, there's a little red, I know it's really hard to see, but if you're doing this with your machine, there's a teeny tiny red dot right here on your threader. I catch it, catch my thread there. So I'm holding, I know it's kind of hard to see, I'm gonna hold the threader all the way down, okay? I'm holding it in towards the front, I've not moved it towards the needle. I wanna catch that little red knob, bring my thread over. All right, I'm gonna have to get in front so I can see what I'm doing now. All right. Thread goes inside and it catches, except I can't see it. There we go. All right. Sorry if I was in the way. What happens is you catch the little red dot, you bring the thread in front of the needle and then kind of angle it upward so it's out of the way, and then you'll swing this lever here towards your needle, and then when you pull it back, you do it so slowly, and then you'll see that you've caught the thread and lift. All right, so I know that's a little confusing, but that's the way you have to thread it. All right. Right now the presser foot is down and I'm gonna lift it up. Here, let's pull this under. All right. On the side, I'm gonna turn the machine. All right, let's put your bobbin in. Open your top door, open the side, and you wanna release your bobbin case. Open this little lever here. You want to do that and you want to pull it out. Okay, simple bobbin case. These are with the older machines. There's a little tiny spring on the inside. All right, when you're putting your bobbin in, if you have a top loading machine, you put the bobbin in so the thread comes off the left. I want you to turn it around so the thread comes off the right, and I always tell my students G for go. So it comes off the right. You want to put your bobbin in the casing. And there's a slit right in here. You're going to catch the slit in there, and then you're going to pull the thread over till it comes out that opening. Through the slit and pull it through. Okay. Thread should be loose. I should not be able to pick my bobbin up. To put the bobbin back into the casing, you want to open the little lever. I tilt my bobbin upward so I don't drop it. Put it over the hole, make sure it's snug, then it's not going to move. Here is your thread cutter. I usually go around the back, bring it to the front, and cut it. There's a tiny blade right in there. All right. Close this and that door, and it's secure. All right. So now we've threaded it. All right. So let's do something standard. Let me get a piece of fabric. Nothing fancy. I have it on, your settings right now are on the green one. This here, it tells you how high your feed dogs are. You have the green level, and then there's a blue level, and if you look closely, the feed dogs are a little lower. The line tells you the top of your plate. The red shows you the same level as the blue, except there's this little teeny tiny pin that comes up, and I'll explain that when we get there. This one here is your black, and that shows you that your feed dogs are completely under the plate and not showing. All right, when you change any of this, to change it from green to blue or whatever color you choose, you need to change your pressure foot here. This is a mechanical button. You have to turn it. So right now, I've got the feed dog setting on green. So that means they're at the highest point. If I'm looking closely at this, I'm in neutral. I'm in the green setting, all right? It shows you a picture of your foot with the little arrow showing downward, meaning pressure, okay? So currently, we're gonna leave it right where it is. All right, this machine goes fast, all right? I can go slow, so she can go nice and slow, but I can also go very, very fast. So that's why she's a semi-industrial. She can go very, very fast. Notice when I stop, my needle is down, okay? I can do one of two things. Yes, I can turn my hand wheel and then bring my uptake up and the needle will come up and I can cut it, or I can just hit my cut button. Automatically cuts. And there I have it. So, and you can look at the back and my tension's off. So that means if you can see it, it's the red and the purple is too loose. See that? So there's a combination of things with this. This is telling me that my bobbin thread is too loose and my top tension is also too loose. So we're going to increase that and see if that's enough. If you wanted to back stitch, your back stitch button is here. You can see how it moves, but the back stitch and cut. I'm just checking tension right now. Yeah, that's so much better. So just that little bit of tension that I increased, just a small amount here, and I turned it clockwise. Didn't move it much, but it was enough to straighten that out. And you can see red on the top. I'm sorry, purple on the top, red on the bottom. Everything looks just fine and dandy. So that's nice and easy to adjust your tension. You cannot be afraid to adjust your tension. I would suggest moving it ever so small. Better to do it 4 or 5 times than to do drastic amounts of movement and then have to go back and forth, back and forth. Take your time with the machine. She's fun to learn, she's fun to use, so just take your time in learning it. I normally, when I'm sewing, what I'll do, if I'm back stitching, I'll back stitch, and then I'll sew. When I cut, I lift my presser foot up just a little, and I take my foot out, and then I put it back down. It's a habit. It's a good habit for me. It's easier. I don't have to constantly lift it all the way up. So I just lift, release, and pull it out. All right, so you can see how it's a nice straight stitch. So right now I've got it on about 2 1/4. I'm going to show you. I'm going to turn it all the way up to 7, which is 7 millimeters, and I'll show you the difference between what I just did at 2 1/4 and 7. Even just looking at the machine, you can see the difference. It's a very, very long stitch. I mean, you can see the difference here. I can put the pointer right underneath that. So this is great for basting a quilt. You can also use this if you're gathering. When you're stitching with heavy-duty fabrics, you always remember to increase your stitch length so it can go through all that fabric. 7 is perfect for me if I'm basting something that I don't want to move. If I'm gathering a sleeve, you can also use this stitch. You just have to remember to pull your bobbin thread and it'll gather. So, yeah, that's your 7 millimeter. Don't make clothes with it because your clothes will fall apart. So we'll just pull that out. And it's easy to pull out too. Well, there you go. Nice and easy, okay? All right. Let's go back down. 2.5, 2.5, we'll do it there. All right, let's see. When you're stitching clothing, quilting, piecing, that kind of thing, I would leave your feed dogs on the green. It's at their highest point, so it's feeding on a regular basis. You can adjust this as needed if it's a little bit too tight. If you're doing fabrics like silk, you'll probably want to change this. You don't want as much feed dog biting into that silk because it'll leave a mark, and it could, it could leave a mark, and if it leaves a mark where it's stitching, it could actually pull. When you change your feed dogs, don't forget you need to change your presser foot. So right now I've got this lever on the blue, so I'm gonna turn this knob, and I'm doing it counterclockwise, and I'm gonna put it about the middle, so it's in the middle of the blue. I know it's hard to see on camera, but if you're turning this, you'll see it on your machine, right? It's still gonna stitch the same, except my feed dogs aren't up as high. So if I'm using delicate fabrics, but it looks the same, and it's supposed to look the same. But if I'm doing something delicate, lace, then I don't want that heavy pull. I want something a little lighter, okay? Looks the same except for my crooked stitching, but you know, nothing changes. Tension's the same, nothing changes except the height of your feed dog, so it's not really grabbing and pulling them. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right, next one. Let's talk about the red, the one with the pin. I'm gonna move it over to the red, and remember, if we change it here, we have to change it here. All right, so let's turn this counterclockwise and bring it up to the red. You will not be able to see this on camera. You won't, this is just impossible, but on your feed dogs, you have a row of feed dogs here that are the longest, and then you have a very short set of feed dogs, and then there's a medium length, okay? The middle set of teeth, on the back, there's a teeny tiny hole. You normally don't even see it because you don't look for it. That hole is where the pin comes up on the red. If you're doing velvet, and if you've ever sewn with velvet, you know that if your feed dogs or your presser foot is too tight or too much pressure, it'll actually leave a line on your velvet and it cannot be removed. This particular stitch with the feed dogs very low with the pin helps to move the fabric. The pin kind of does this. It just kind of moves it. It helps, but it's a pin and not feed dog, so it's not leaving any marks. You cannot see it move. I mean, it's the same, it looks the same. It doesn't change. You can see, look, I'm letting it go. Notice how it's kind of moving, the fabric is moving here. That is because the pin is trying to work. I'm gonna turn it. So with the feed dogs nice and low, and the pin helping the fabric to move, I literally can do a circle. Helps with velvets, silks. Almost there. Thread it manually. I've got my needle threaded. I've got my feed dogs down. I'm not concerned where this pressure is. I've got it in the red because that's where I was originally. All right, so let me get a quilt sandwich. Now, when I'm using the Accomplish for a quilting machine and I'm gonna free motion, I normally have either the extension table that comes with it or I will use the Sew Steady table that you can purchase through Myers. I like the Sew Steady table. It gives you a whole lot of room. You just need to make sure that it's the right size for your table. All right, let me get this straightened out. So, quilt sandwich, I've got cotton, and then I have some batting, and then I have more cotton. So this is needle punched. Okay. Okay, all right. Now I will tell you, when you're doing free motion, I will normally do one complete revolution on my hand wheel, and I'll pull my bobbin thread up just so I can see it. All right. Just makes it a little easier. Even though there are no feed dogs, you still need to engage your tension. Remember, your tension is not in your feed dogs. Your tension is here with your tension discs. If your tension is not on and your discs are closed with the thread, then what will happen is it'll still be loosey-goosey and your tension will be off, all right? Now, I'm not changing anything yet. I just left it where it was. Doesn't matter what my stitch is here, because remember, there is no stitch regulator now because there are no feed dogs. I'm the stitch regulator. So I'm gonna put the pedal on the floor. Because I can't do it with my hand and move fabric. All right, so I'm just gonna start anywhere, it doesn't matter. This was a big quilt. I would have sprayed this, and then I probably would have some pins in here, possibly even drew some lines on it so I know which way I was going. So I'll just start it. If you're doing something and you're starting in the middle, you want to let your needle go up and down 3 times, just so you have that reinforcement stitch. Now, I'm going to stop, lift my presser foot up, and I'm going to pull those threads out of the way because they're going to get caught. So, there's nothing wrong with snipping. All right, get them out of the way. Okay. I can go back and snip them a little closer later. I'm not too concerned. I just wanted to get the long thread out of the way. Put my tension back down. You notice that when I do that, this moves. If you want to pay attention to this, it goes down, okay? This doesn't move, but you'll notice it's going to hit here. All right. The whole idea of free motion, I'll be honest, I don't have any gloves or anything with me. I don't have a very good imagination when I'm free motioning, so I usually draw lines. But if you look, there's purple on the top, and that's what we have. And I'm going to turn it around, and there's red on the bottom. Now, if I was being a perfectionist, I can see here my stitches are nice and even, and then when I get over here on that curve, I went too fast with my hands, and you can see that my tension's not off, it's me. Remember, I'm the stitch regulator. If I go too fast, my stitches are going to be large. If I go too small, then my stitches are going to be really, really, really tight. So you have to remember, don't expect the machine to do what you want until you've practiced it, okay? My suggestion is to learn how to use this with free motion, make a bunch of quilt sandwiches, draw some lines on it, write your name in cursive, and then practice. Practice, practice, practice. This is a good machine. She is wonderful. You have a very large throat area where you can roll up your quilt. And I've done a quilt, and it hangs at the, currently hangs at the Education and Event Center that I've done completely on this machine. All right, so that is your free motion. I really can't express how much you need to practice. All right, I do want to show you, let's see. There is one important thing about the Accomplish that you normally don't focus too much on a standard sewing machine. First thing, let's take off this foot. Put the other foot back on. Now, notice if if you look closely, that if I just tried to put that in there, it doesn't really fit. It's like, okay, how do I get that on there without smacking the needle? Go behind, lift your presser foot up, lift that lever up a little higher, and then you can get that completely underneath it without any issues, okay? All right. You want to push the foot with its ankle attached close to the bar. Remember, you can finger tighten it, hand tighten it, and then tighten it with the screwdriver, okay? Now, still don't have feed dog showing. I'm going to go back down to the green to put my feed dogs in the original sewing position. I'm going to turn the top knob clockwise, and that little red lever will go down, and I'm going to line it up with the green, okay? Now, there is one important thing about this machine, unlike other machines. You need to oil this machine. Usually, I don't oil my other regular machines or my embroidery machine. If something acts up, I usually bring it down to have it serviced if it's due for a service. With the Accomplished, because it's a semi-industrial machine, there's something a little different about this one. You have to take care of it a little bit better. You need to oil it. If you have ever seen a commercial industrial machine, it literally sits in a pan of oil, and this would be oil. The whole bottom piece would sit in a pan of oil. Your machine engine basically would be outside of the machine. This is a little different because it's semi-industrial. The engine is on the inside, but you need to oil it on a regular basis. This is mechanical. It is not computerized. You have to oil this. All right, I've got some sewing machine oil, and I've got a brush. We also have brushes for sale at Meijer's. They are a wire handle, and it has long, long bristles. I prefer cleaning with that brush. I have one for my serger and for my Accomplished. There are holes on the top, and there are holes on next to your plate that need to be oiled. There is instructions in your manual on how to do this, but I will point them out and I'll put oil in it. What I normally do is I will tell my customers approximately once a month you should be oiling your machine. If you are sewing on this every day and using it a lot, then you probably want to oil it once a week. When I'm using this particular model at the store, I oil it once a week, okay? She runs a whole lot better when she's got oil in her. So this particular oil, I'm gonna get this top off. Okay. All right, so there is a hole right in front of this knob. There's a hole that kind of almost lines up perfectly with your threader. There's another hole here, and if we were looking at it with the handle up, it's here. And there's a hole right here, little to the left of your bobbin mechanism. You want to put 1 drop of oil in each one of those. The holes are large enough so you can see it, but it does not look like a screw would go into it. There's no grooves on the inside. Make sure that you are using clear sewing machine oil. If the oil is discolored, throw it away and go purchase new oil. So you want to drop 1 drop in each hole. So there's 4 on the top. Okay. And then there is 1 here. Next to the plate. Okay. You want to open up your bobbin. Let me turn this so you can see. All right, I'm going to take my bobbin out. And I would, before I oil, I would come in here with a brush and clean it all out. You can use a little tiny vacuum attachment if you'd like. All right. Now you want to put a drop of oil where it's going to turn in this arc right here. I'm going to turn it. I'm not sure if you can see. See this? How it moves. This is your takes up the bobbin thread here. So I want to put that right in between. I don't want to put it inside your bobbin because I don't want oil in my thread. But you want to put it right on that edge. So let me drop. And then I want to take the thread out of the needle. Okay. And I want to give it a little bit of movement. That's going to help grease it, I guess is a good way. If you accidentally got too much oil somewhere on your machine, then all you need to do is take a rag after, and I normally do this anyhow. I want to wipe up the top if I get any oil. I don't want oil on my thread. I don't want oil on my machine so it gets on my fabric. I usually oil at the end of the day so then it'll settle. If there's any oil on here, you can just, that's dust. But if you have any oil there, you can just wipe it up, okay? All right. Put that back in. Signs that your machine needs oil. Sounds a little rough. Also, your thread, if you know that you've changed your needle recently, if the thread, after you've cut it, use your cutter, if it keeps pulling out of the needle, then you probably need to oil, okay? Close your door and we'll slide it back this way. All right, there we go. All right, so remember, oiling is very, very important. At least monthly. If you let your machine sit, something comes up, you go on vacation, it sits there for 3 months, I would oil it before you start using it again, all right? This way, if you're not sure, you can call the dealer and ask them, you know, how often should it's been sitting for 6 months, does it need to be serviced, or can I just oil it and work it that way? All right, so let me pull this. One thing I didn't mention about this particular fixture here with the holes in it, I'm gonna engage my tension so it doesn't move. Okay. When I'm doing cotton thread, cotton usually is lighter than standard thread. You may not need to go through all 3 loops, okay? So if you're having issues with your tension and you're not getting anywhere with adjusting this and you know the machine's running fine otherwise, skip a hole, okay? So go down just to the second hole and then the third hole. Leave the first hole open. This helps with tension. It helps to give a little more tension, excuse me, a little more tension. So if you don't need as much tension because of the style of thread you're using or the weight of the thread you're using, you wanna try also skipping one of the holes, okay? That's another way that we adjust it. Because remember, this is semi-industrial. It's not a standard machine where you do the same thing over and over again. You need to learn your machine and you need to start playing with her and try. All right, heavy-duty fabrics. I'm gonna get some jean fabric. Because this is an industrial, semi-industrial machine, she doesn't have any problems going through heavy fabrics. With the right needle, and I think I only have a 75. I have a 7511 in this particular machine right now. So I can go through heavy jean, but I wouldn't sew a whole pair of jeans with it. All right. I think the best feature for this machine is the speed, and that it can sew through just about anything. All right. So I'm going to increase my stitch length. My feed dogs are on the green. My pressure's on the green. I've got all my holes filled in there. And let's see what she does. She shouldn't have any issues. So, at the very beginning of this video, I showed you how fast she went through cotton. And it was just a skinny little layer. Well, she just did the same exact thing with jean fabric. So that shows you that she's a heavy duty machine. I know that some machines, they sound different even when you're going through heavy fabric. With this, you're not going to get that. Okay, so let's see. I think I've gone over everything she's got. Ah, I know what I didn't do. Your walking foot. Let's go over that really quick. Remember, your walking foot, and like any other foot, we have to take off the whole foot. So, again, we're going to unscrew it. When you're putting your walking foot on, you'll notice that you can't slide it into the hole. You have to take your the entire screw off, okay? When you put your foot on, the walking foot on, you want to make sure that this claw is on your needle bar, okay? I don't want it above or below. I want it like almost on the needle bar this way. You want to put and line up the hole. It's kind of hard to get that screw in. Once you get it started, it's good. And then tighten it. Okay. Your walking foot, I've used this for going through really heavy duty fabrics. I made a quilt and I was doing stitching them together, the pieces together, and it was very, very thick. We had stabilizer and extra fabric, and it was thick. So I ended up using my walking foot so it would actually pull it together, so I wasn't going to have any unevenness, and I didn't want to use a lot of pins. So this was really a good option for me. And you can hear it. I mean, she's a little loud, but she works real well. She does heavy duty nicely. And again, you can't even see that. You can see the red in the back. So your walking foot is a great foot. It doesn't go as fast as it does with your standard foot, but it works really well. So use your walking foot for heavy duty fabrics, putting in, maybe if you've done an embroidery quilt and you need to put it together and you've left the stabilizer on, that would be a good time to use it. So I think that about wraps it up. If you have any questions about your accomplished, you know who to call. Walk through the video again and rethread her by yourself. And most of all, have a lot of fun. Have a great day.